Hi, welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name is Adrian,
And I'm Alex.
and our special guests will be joining us shortly. But our topic today is voicing your opinion. The main idea of just like, how does one say, hey, this doesn't make me comfortable, or hey, I kind of want to do more fighting in the game? What's the safe way, or multiple ways, to kind of voice that opinion? I don't think there's a certain way that is the correct way or like this is the catch all. I just think that it really depends on, who you are and who your players are. And you'll kind of figure that out the more you play with them and the more you kind of understand who they are as a person. Because you have new players, I don't feel like they have that kind of idea of like what they wish for in gameplay because they haven't experienced like multiple sides of gameplay.
I'm really excited that you're already just saying, no, Alex, you don't have enough experience.
Well, into that idea.
No, you're not wrong. I just was immediately,
Yeah,
you're
Alex.
right. You're
Shut
right.
up. This is my podcast. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh no.
No, well, here's what I was going with that. Is there any other things that kind of come up that your characters had to kind of like voice an opinion about in that, potentially that could also be like kind of challenging the dungeon master. I mean, I don't know if you've had that yet. So that's where I was going.
But no, honestly, I haven't had an opportunity to have that conversation of, what exactly my players want further than we're just trying to play Dungeons and Dragons for the first time, or my new student group with, one person who has played. The other two are just there for a good time. So I think I'm still in the we're trying to figure out where our voices are in all of those areas. So I do ask them if they have fun, like at least check in with them and have that like first level of communication. So I think having that and starting that will probably promote more of a rapport between me and my players of just, hey, did you like that? Hey, is there something you want to do? And then just generally reading their body language and the way that they're solving problems or puzzles and things like that, and seeing if they really enjoy it or if they're just like a let's smash it kind of party.
From what you told us before, I think they're very smash it kind of party.
Yeah. And I think that may have been me not feeling comfortable in making my own puzzles yet. So, like I said before, but for those who are new, I have some ideas to throw in there. And through our conversations through the podcast, through conversations outside the podcast, I'm slowly trying to figure out how to incorporate that into my dungeon mastering. But I'm still not super confident in my storytelling ability. And I know that that was a struggle that I was going to come to the table with, anyways, because I never felt like I was a good storyteller. So my own growth is what's really, I guess, hindering anything like that so far. But I'm new, so I'm not mad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'll get there. I mean, I want to be a better storyteller, and I think this is kind of helping me. I didn't feel like I had the attention whenever I talked, like, ever. So when it was like, and now you have to listen, I was like, all right, but let's make it good. Or they could just easily kind of kick me out and, like, I want to play with a different DM. So, like, you got to keep it on your feet. I think that's another thing that I did early on is just look up dungeon puzzles and for D&D, and there's a lot of good ones and there's a lot of complicated ones that are just like, oh, you got to use like a deck of cards and a checker pieces and just like I just want a riddle or just a simple room. And I think my favorite puzzle is called, I think they call it the button. So essentially they get trapped in a box if they kind of fail their rolls. It's immune to all damage, magic, and everything. And inside it, there's a button. And also a timer counting backwards from 10. Every time you click the button, it resets the timer. So some people just kind of like panic and try to figure things out and start attacking it. And and try to use every which way of magic because when they think timer and countdown, they think bomb, explosion, boom. But at the end of the timer, the box just lets them out if they let it.
Ooh. Okay.
Uh, I think it's worked uh, 50% of the time. Other times they just don't pay attention. I like to bring out like your phone like timer because you can just put it to 10 seconds and then you can just have them hit reset every time.
I don't know why that escapes me just to like Google search like D&D puzzles. Like that isn't already a resource that's easy to find. I'm gonna go do that for my next couple of rounds.
Yeah, and sometimes it can get like really complicated, and sometimes they're really simple. And just whatever you feel comfortable kind of displaying to your players, I think that you should be good.
So, how do you like your players to ask you or to tell you what they want? Is that a conversation you have up front, or is that something that, like, I'm assuming most people that you forget
Hmm.
at front,
Well,
and then maybe you talk about it later?
I've had multiple instances of where this kind of goes, and I don't approach it the same all the time. Sometimes I'll have an idea of what I want to do. Like, hey, do you guys like I can make something up, or we can play a module. And modules are kind of already there to help. So I'm already like if we play a module, I'm ready right now. But if we want me to like make a homebrew, give me like 10 minutes. I'll make something up on the fly. And that's what I usually do. There's sometimes where like I'm super inspired. I'm like, you guys make your backstory, and I will make a world around your backstory. That was with one of my groups, and they just kind of like, no, just make the world, and then we'll make the backstory. And I'm like, I think I could intertwine it better. He's like, no, 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 we'll do it this way. I'm like, fine. But that group kind of fizzled as well because if I don't feel like they want to do it, how am I supposed to feel to make it happen? It's tough. Like, you have so much energy and it's being drained by this meh feeling, and it's like, I can create only so much. So, yeah. And then for Curse of Strahd, they kind of knew what they were getting into, what kind of campaign. I just asked them gameplay questions, what kind of player they were. I had like 2 sets of questionnaires before they entered my game. And in the middle of the game, Dave said this that I kind of said, all right, we've played for 5 months. What do you want from this game other than, to addition to what we've already been doing? And I just felt like as a DM, I want them to feel that inspiration as well. Like that I am also listening to them. So I'm excited. I'm always excited to have that dialogue.
Welcome
My
back.
name is it's great to be back. I'm Skyler on YouTube. I'm Skyler the Dungeonologist. If anyone, any friends and family called me that in person, it would be really weird. But on the internet, you can find me at Skyler the Dungeonologist. I talk about D&D and ADHD and the wonderful crossroads at which lies me and my life. This is my second time on Dungeons and Degrees. I'm happy to be back.
He shouted us out, and I really appreciate that.
Of course.
And we'll tell you right before you leave, you get to shout out whatever you do, and maybe even Houndstooth.
Oh, dang. Okay.
I need to read it because she's been working on it. She's like, a couple days, and it's been a month now. I'm like, I feel that 100%. Okay.
Yeah, read it, you coward.
I will.
I don't actually think you're a coward. You're so brave, Adrian.
He is the bravest.
You're the bravest of all. You're the best of all of us, Adrian.
Okay, now I just feel like you're making fun of me now.
No, I'm just quoting Into the Spider-Verse, but I replaced Miles with Adrian. That's just a maneuver that I have. Okay, so the question once more, Alex.
The question: how do you engage with your players to better serve them in their gameplay? Look at that college level question.
So, a lot of this has to do with my campaign pitches. So right now, a company that I will not name because I don't know if they want to be on this podcast has brought me in to be their dungeon master to run their like company D&D game. And which is not a job that existed when I first entered the workforce, but if I think 14-year-old me's wishes came true. This is a game where I really want to make sure they're getting what they want out of me. So I've got
I'm not
these
mature enough for this conversation right now. I'm
now,
sorry.
Alex. They're gonna get what they pay for, all right.
I bet they will. You'll give
So
it to them.
not that kind of dungeon master, and not that kind of dungeon. So it has a lot to do with stating up front, here's the player buy-in. Here's what I need your characters to believe in order for this campaign to be a meaningful experience for all of us. Like if I was pitching Waterdeep Dragon Heist, right? I would say, okay, this is a not very tactically complex game, but it's going to be very role-playing heavy. So I need you guys to have characters that are invested in success and in solving whatever mystery is presented before you and sticking it out to the end. That should be your ultimate goal. And whatever secondary goals you have on the side, you could share those with me and trust me to work them in for you so that we can get all that sweet narrative resolution. But for a game like, the West Marches, I just sort of dump some world info, but for the most part, I'm like, if you want to learn about the world, you have to go read other players' write-ups or go read the RP channel because it's the players that keep the world alive, not really me. And so I'll ask people to tell me what their background is, and typically people have an answer, but if they don't, it's fine. And then I'll give them a rumor about the world, and that kind of gives them a hook to go investigate. Really, West Marches solves every single problem that I've ever had running D&D, so my answer is run West Marches. But for literally 90% of people who don't want to do that, the short answer is I communicate my expectations up front, and I try to get a feel for their expectations. I provide lots of options so that their choice will inform something about how they want to interact with the game. It really depends on the group, and it depends on the game.
Yeah.
Which is not a helpful answer at all.
No, that's. I think it's fair because I haven't played in a while. West Marches.
Because you just keep dying, Adrian.
Yeah, I want to start just DMing more with West Marches instead, but I'd need all.
If you died doing that, it would certainly be a feat.
See there.
I think I've gotten close. I got up at 5 a.m. today to DM for our resident Australian.
Yeah,
almost died.
That's dedication.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, and we got like 2 more from different areas. One's in India, or was it?
No, she is in Dubai.
Dubai,
which is in the United Arab Emirates.
So, it's getting diverse up in there.
Yeah, it's getting very time zone diverse, which is a challenge, but it's a challenge that I welcome.
When a player character kind of voices their opinion, like during gameplay, like kind of challenging the DM, I've had one person who's kind of
a player character or a player.
Sorry, a player. My apologies.
Okay. Because if a player character is challenging the DM, that's some really meta shit.
That's one day I'll make that, and I'll try to figure that out. It'd be like a very ventriloquist act going on there.
Little Deadpool.
Exactly. A live lake. I don't know. That's the character's name.
Yeah. Boo. So you had a player challenge you on the battlefield, as it were.
Yeah, and he was new, so like, part of me is just like, I want to resolute this, but also I don't want to like fight him, and because like our opinions kind of like differed, so I'm like, here's what the ruling is now, and I will go over it and decide later under circumstances where I'm not being rushed that to figure this out. And if it turns out you might not like it, I think that I will give hopefully a good enough reason for you to understand where I'm coming from. And as the DM, it would be much easier if you would accept this as DM rule. And I'm not trying to be like an overruling master for the most part, but I want to be able to like have the same set of rules that make me understand the game as the person who kind of creates the background, so that I'm not like, oh yeah, that's right, we ruled on his rule because of this, and I have to kind of change my thinking.
So, do you mind sharing what the ruling was?
It's been so long. I want to say that it was the how darkness played out. There it was. And
Darkness, the spell?
Yes. I play it a little differently where yes, it kind of curves corners, but much like how light works, if you're in front of it, then you kind of cast the reverse of a shadow. I did that. So like you could like people could see into the darkness from outside, but whoever was inside the darkness are being pointed at, they could see jack shit. So I played it that way because I thought it was interesting that you could just cover up darkness if you just put like a hat on top of it or anything. So I'm like, okay, I want to test out a mechanic that I think would be fun. So I've been playing darkness in that way.
Okay. And that's not how a player expected it to work when they cast the spell?
I think that he kind of had that understanding once we started like reading into the ruling, but he's like, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? And I'm like, okay, like you're throwing a lot at me at this point, and I think you have some good points, but for the time being, to keep the game in motion, I will rule on that later, but for now, this is how it's going to be played. I think he was kind of discussing like corners and translucent objects, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But for now, this is how it's going to play through this combat, and we will change it. Because if I feel like if I have to change it, I might have to retcon some stuff that has already happened.
So with like, and I've done that before as well, a lot throughout the editions, especially in second edition where spells are so weird. Second edition D&D, not Pathfinder, where it's like, okay, if our understanding of the spell is going to shift, that means that all these other things, it, if every time we've cast haste in second edition, you age 10 years, that means that all these characters would be dead, but we've been ignoring that. But now we don't want to ignore it anymore. That doesn't mean that everyone just turns to dust. It means, you can pull some DM bullshit, be like, there's some fundamental change in the Mistweave, and now magic is different. But that's a part of the buy-in for everyone, is that as our understanding of the rules improves, so will our execution of them. And until then, the rules are not going to dictate the flow of narrative. Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely the move, is like, hey, we're going to rule on this way right now, but we'll fix it later. Like for instance, hi Jax, I hope you're listening. Jax did not like the XP for write-ups, and he voiced why. He did it publicly, and let everyone else weigh in. And responding to that publicly for me was, I got really in my head about it, but then I was like, okay, I hear you. I understand your concerns with this and my implementation versus how it's actually being executed. So we'll work together to find a solution. But for right now, it's going to stay the same. And then I, set alarms and reminders so that I actually have this conversation and change it. And then I did. I think everybody's happy with the current arrangement. But it's easy as a DM to think that if someone's coming at a ruling, that they're coming at you. And that's not true. They're not coming at your authority. Like, people just, if they don't understand the reasoning behind something, or not even if they don't understand, if it conflicts with their own authority and their own understanding, like doctors didn't wash their damn hands in hospitals until the narrative around washing hands in hospitals became like, this hospital's doing it great, we should do it better, because they were like, oh, I'm a doctor, you're going to tell me that I'm not doing something right just because I'm not washing my hands? Like,
you're saying that is killing people? Fuck you, I'm the doctor. I know
Fuck
about
you, I'm
life.
a doctor. I'm the opposite of a killer. I unkill people. I dekill them. And, that's same energy. Like, if someone's going to come at you and be like, hey, I don't like the way this thing is happening, it's easy to immediately react like, well, fuck you, man. This is how I do it. You're going to come at me in my house?
Yeah, and I think that emotions are high when you kind of invest in a character. I think when Simex died, I was just like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, okay. I wish that you had been recording so that we can play the clip right now of you ripping the character sheet up and flushing it down the toilet. Because that was a very intense moment for me as your DM.
Actually, I had forgot to mute it and I was using the restroom. That was a lie. Spoilers.
Well, hey, you played it to your advantage.
What was the advantage? Oh, the ripping, yeah. I'm like, fuck. I thought I muted this.
It was a flex.
No, 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 no. I was just like embarrassed in the moment. I'm like, I should just tell him I was the shitter. Whatever. I was just listening in. But yeah, it made me sad because I put time into it, and because of my emotional investment, I was just like, now what? So I took a break, and I'm still on break technically, but I stepped away, and I'm like, I think that's fine. If I want to play this game again, I'll play it again, but I need to figure out how not to die or something. I don't know. You
So
just
is this actually the episode where you confront me about character death?
no, I don't care.
Let's put on a demonstration, Adrian. Just
No.
kidding.
One, I wanted to like not do anything because narratively, I don't think I should have gotten fame, anything from that, because that was my first combat. I didn't talk to anybody. Why should I get this glorious death? It just felt like a confetti popper at the middle of a funeral. Just poof. I'm like, oh, okay.
Anybody can die gloriously, Adrian, no matter how much they talk.
I don't know. Narratively, I didn't. I mean, I've been reading a lot of Monster Hearts manual, and it's like there's 4 rules, and I've just fallen in love with it. It's don't be boring, make sure it's savage, the story, and let's see, what the rules require and what truth requires. Those are the 4 rules, and I'm like,
those are Superman's 4 rules.
I fell in love with what truth requires, and I've been looking at like, am I doing this because of personal feelings, or is this what my character should be doing? So I've fallen in love with it.
That sounds like a life-defining philosophy. Like, do what the truth requires. I'm feeling that.
It was beautiful. I'm like, I'm gonna get this tattooed. No shit.
Do what the truth requires, and then get your Monster Hearts OC tattooed on your back.
For sure. But yeah, I think that there's always going to be rulings, and I've been confronted later about how things work, and I'm like, oh, I fucked up, and like, okay, retcon, this is how this used to work, like how potions are used. There's not a defining rule. You could use object, or people like, okay, you could use bonus action instead to feed a potion. And I've adopted.
Well, I don't want to be that guy, but quaffing
tell
a potion requires an action, rules as written. But also, who the fuck cares?
It's my story. Also, I just felt that because I also had some homebrew other things going on, that I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. If I homebrewed it this way and potions cost an action, I think it's unfair. I think I used a what's it called? I gave this knife that injects poison. They can use a bonus action. And I'm like, okay, well, if bonus action is potion and if clicking a button, I think I need to change that. So I made it so it was a reaction instead. So I'm just, fixing things as I go.
Of course.
So how do you deal with, because we all know well actually kids.
Right.
So how do you deal with those like moments of well actually, and then maybe, or a player who gets upset that that's not how the rules were being played, and now it's not now, it shouldn't be like that. How do you deal with that in your games?
You kill them and delete their character sheet.
You kill the player and you eat their character sheet over their corpse. No, that's not true. It's easy to kill player characters. It's kind of tricky to pull off killing players, so I don't recommend it.
Wouldn't you eat their character sheet first and then kill them? Because don't you want that extra level
Did
of like
you just
sight?
well actual my So my actual answer to that question is I've had a player in almost every game I've ever run they feel very glad that they have a concrete understanding of the rules, because that is not something that you can get here in real life. And so though that understanding of the rules exerts some amount of authority and mastery over this, imaginary realm. And there's a lot of flexibility within those rules, but I feel those players want to be rewarded for their understanding of the rules. And so if you give them rulings and explain why, typically they're like, okay, I'm adopting that into my understanding of the rules, and I want to be rewarded for that later. Like, we have a wonderful wizard and he's not well actually, but he's pretty well versed in the rules, and he'll typically contact me privately if there's something like, hey, this This is how this rule works, just in case you need to know.
I know him.
And he's the wizard who lives in our hearts forever.
He's a good resource too.
Jesus Christ, no. And I've started to lean on him as a resource, where I'll ask him to track certain rules, conditions, or initiative, or I'll ask him what a spell does if he knows offhand. I don't just want to ask him for everything because I can Google, but I want him to feel like his understanding of the rules makes the West Marches a cooler place to be, and I think right now he does feel that way. And rather than trying to punish people for being more familiar with a given rule set than I am. And it's happened where, somebody's given me hey, this is how this rule works, and they're wrong. And I don't, drag them through the streets behind my chariot. I say, oh, this is my understanding of the rule. Let's look it up. Usually, it doesn't take long on D&D Beyond or on Google to find a given rule, or, a tweet from Jeremy Crawford that says like, legendary actions and reactions interact in this way. So I've stopped perceiving it as an attack on me and my magical realm. So that's been my biggest boon in regards to counterspelling. Actually, is that it's it happens a lot. I used to DM Adventurers League, and you have people at my friendly local gaming store who this is the only D&D group they could find, and so they want to inject as much of themselves into it as possible. And I think that that's cool, and I want to make that experience cool for them. And Adventurers League happens to be a very rules as written game. Like, you cannot go off book because it's sanctioned. You get there's a limited amount of treasure that Wizards of the Coast sends the game store. They're like little DCI cards. So you can't really mess around and homebrew a bunch of stuff. So they're counting on the DM to have a very concrete understanding of the rules. And how I view that is, okay, I'm the DM. I have the understanding of the rules that I have. That's not going to change between when the game starts and when it ends. But if there's a rule that you guys think I'm getting wrong, let's look it up together. That way, whatever happens the way it's supposed to. I try to lean on people as resources. Nowhere in the Dungeon Master's Guide does it say the Dungeon Master is solely responsible for knowing all the rules for every class and spell, and they have to make sure that everyone's having fun, because that's everybody's job.
Mm-hmm. It's collective storytelling. Make sure that you're including everybody. Even if you have your one-off, make sure somebody else feels special too, and letting them have their adventure too.
You're damn straight.
I think it's a good, right idea that you do need to check your actually at the door just a little bit, right? You don't have to maybe get rid of all of it, but like as a player, just check it at the door. And then as a DM, you can keep it a little bit tighter, but really it's about like, what's the point of playing Dungeons and Dragons? Is it to be right? Is it to have fun? Is it to just connect with your friends, or is it to meet new people, or whatever, your other group members look like? But I think it's a good idea. And I think sometimes I forget that I am a girl in this space, and that sometimes the way I used to interact with Dungeons and Dragons was that I had by no means had any authority in the space, and I also played with a lot of actuallys. So sometimes I forget that people are actually really nice and they actually do want to play, despite the fact that I am playing with people who do those very things.
And I'm coming from kind of a position of privilege where I don't get gatekept a lot because I'm like a nerdy white dude. So I have some aesthetic qualifications to D&D society.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I am not complaining, but sometimes when I do think about these things, I'm like, well, what if they freak out? But then again, like, I've established dominance as the DM, so I should also invite that into my players of like, hey, I remember being actually'd. Maybe we don't do that. And maybe as a player character myself, calling people out when they are actuallying and ruining all the fun, and actually them back. Yeah.
Are you trying to like attack those players? Is that what you're telling us?
I don't know. I think I'm a little too aggressive right now, and that might be my issue, is that I'm just a little too
Heard.
So are you wanting to like provide a space for people to give that feedback that's not like at the table in front of your friends?
I think for me, it would depend. It would depend, I think. I think most often I'd be fine with like just being at the table and being like, "Hey, this is actually how we do that." And really I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like that's how we do it." Or like I've told players like things that they've done, or like I've given them items or some sort of special trait that I'm like, "Hey, you keep track of that." Like that's fine. So I really just I pawn off some of those things that I probably should be remembering,
No
but
way. Pawn it off.
Yeah, you have a lot on your plate already
oh,
as
well,
DM.
you know. But I don't know. I think I may still be a little too new that I'm like, yeah, whatever everyone else says, that must be right. So we'll just do it like that. That sounds like fun.
I
So I'm
mean, when
like,
I first, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh,
ADHD
no.
people talking over each other is a total discord.
um, oh crap! Now that I forgot. I don't remember. Okay,
I don't remember what I was gonna say either. So we just
there's
deleted each other.
ADHD in action right there. There is it.
Oh, believing what other people tell you.
Sure. Hmm.
Don't do it. Everyone's a liar. There's in my early history with D&D, I definitely had moments where I was in some weird ass group at Mad Hatter's House of Games, and like some guy was like, "Oh yeah, you need to track all your material components for spells. So like you need to go out and like pluck a feather from a pigeon during your downtime and get like a pinch of bat guano from the nearby caves. And if there are no caves nearby, you can't cast fireball." And I was like, "Okay, sure, that makes sense, and I'm not going to question it at all." And then I just lived believing that for like 5 years, and then 3.5 came out. And I was like, "Oh, they got rid of the material component requirements." And one of my other buddies was like, "What the hell are you talking about, man? Some dude named Dave told you that. That doesn't make it true. Just because he had a ponytail doesn't mean he's an expert in Dungeons and Dragons."
I feel like I know that Dave. Like I feel like I have that Dave in my memory bank.
He's there.
He's
We all
there.
remember him, but we can't recall exactly where or how we met him.
His
Yeah,
face
it's
is
all the same
amalgamation.
Dave.
He stayed the same age since 1976.
Is that the spirit of Dungeons and Dragons?
It's the spirit of Dungeons and Dragons gatekeeping. Is Dave.
Fucking
I'm the
Dave.
ghost of D&D gatekeeping past.
He's just a demi-lich at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He's got like the clip-on phone case.
Oh, hey. Calm down. Those are
Nope.
useful.
You're attacking him personally.
Just because I have a clip-on phone case and a mustache.
Look, there's more, right? He's got the jeans that he's had the same jeans since like 1982. He has the clip-on phone case, and it's not like cool where it's like it's like it's slid in. It needs to be upgraded, right? It's just that old. But the ponytail is not a quite full ponytail. It is definitely a balding horseshoe ponytail.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I
That's kind of
envisioned that.
That's kind of a look, though.
And his t-shirt is tucked into these jeans.
His t-shirt is tucked into these jeans, and the t-shirt says FBI parentheses Federal Booby Inspector.
Absolutely.
All right, all you artists out there, get to arting this right now, please.
No, do not iterate, Dave. Once you listen.
Once
this is
you
gonna end up
create
as like
it.
an SCP.
Yeah, once you write or draw them, that's another fucking one. It's like an angel, like a weeping angel.
Yeah, in fact, we shouldn't be describing him on this podcast.
and
if you see Dave,
and just cuts off right there.
Yeah. Don't say his name 3 times in a row in the mirror.
And don't call him David. He fucking
God.
hates that.
David is my father.
David is my father, and he hates Dave. He's like, "Don't ever call me Dave. That's horrible."
I know that guy.
He knows.
Oh boy. Gosh.
That might be all I have time for today, folks.
I know. And eat your burgers and watch your TV with your wonderful wife.
I will.
First, quickly do any plugins you need to do.
I have a YouTube channel that I already mentioned, and my wonderful wife is publishing a serial fiction called Houndstooth. It's like if Gilmore Girls and Twin Peaks had a baby, and it's one of the coolest things that I've ever read. I'm editing it, and every time I edit it, I forget that I'm not just reading it for fun because it's so freaking good. And if you join her Patreon, she will send you a letter from someone in the town. It's the coolest fucking thing, and I'm so mad that we have the same bank account, so I can't be a patron.
I mean, you could, but
It would just be paying her like 75% of
yeah. And then there's
minus.
taxes involved or whatever. So maybe just like slip her some money to have
Yeah,
like
it
a
would
letter.
it would look like fraud is the
Yeah.
problem.
So maybe we don't. Let's back it up. We don't do that.
Okay, but you, listener, you can do it. And I think that if you check it out, that you'll be super stoked at ladywritingbeast.com.
I'll probably
Hell yeah.
read it when I take my train this weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Skylar.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. It's always a blast. I hope you get to roll that 20 that you really need to do that very important thing.
Yes, thank you.
So the real life application of today.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about voting. And this will come out hopefully November 1st, if I do everything correctly. And it'll be 2 days before Election Day, which is gonna be knucking futz.
It's gonna be, yeah. And today, is the first early day voting in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Governor Greg Abbott, who pushed it forward. I guess pushed it forward, moved it.
Where was it before?
It's later in the year. I actually don't know. So this is the very first time, which is a monumental time in my life, that I have actually gotten to go to like the actual polling place and voted for a president. Otherwise, I've just mailed in my ballot because I lived in Lubbock and I was registered in Collin County, and I never got to actually do it. So it was a little intimidating. I didn't really want to ask any questions because there were a lot of old people around me. So I pretended to know what I was doing, and I read all of the instructions. I think that's what really helped, is that I actually read what I was supposed to be doing.
Explain that a little bit more, because I think that, I have no idea what you're talking about, because I'm be real, for the past 2 elections, I did not vote.
How dare you?
The first one, I was 18-year-old, I was like, my vote doesn't matter, and then I've gotten chewed out since then. But also, slowly but surely, personally, I've become more paid attention to politics and how it works, and who's going on, and who's up there. And so when the second time came around to vote, I felt that because I didn't educate myself, that I would also be considered like being a ignorant voter, and I didn't want to do that. And people were like, well, people don't look up anything, they just vote down party lines. And I'm like, well, that's not me. I want to know things, and I want to do the research before I say this right that I have I'm going to use properly. And I know that some people are just like, well, you made this person elected because of you. I'm like, well, I mean, if you say that because I didn't vote, that's literally a vote for the other side. The other side can make that same argument to me as well. And I think that it's unfair to me as someone who just was trying to do his moral best, that to just but because he didn't know anything, didn't vote. But I'll get chewed out by Alex, I bet.
No, I really won't, because I'm close enough to you that I understand that, like, you are definitely somebody who wants to know 100% of what they're doing, and you want to know the entirety of the problems or the things that you're thinking of. I don't think what people do know is that you actually don't have to vote on everybody on that list. So it could have been, I'm just voting for the president, or I'm just voting for the mayor of the city, if it happens to be something like that. So that's part of it, is that you don't have to. They give you little scanning bars. So for those of you who maybe need the little extra help of like, what am I doing when I go up to my polling place? I'm there for that. I'm definitely somebody who needed to know what I was going to do. So I went to get my allergy shot, And then on the way back to my apartment, I was like, oh, I guess I could vote. It's early. It's like I've seen a couple of polling places. I could like go and do it. And then I was like, I don't know because I don't know what to expect. And then I was like, but like I could do it later. And there was just that little nagging voice that says, things are probably not going to get any better if you don't go do something now because you're going to find an excuse later and you're not going to want to do it any other time. So that was part of my internal struggle. So I found if you just Google search, like, where can I vote in your county, you need to make sure that you're voting in your correct county. So, like, my permanent address is in Collin County, and I needed to make sure I went to a Collin County voting place. But basically, you drive in, and there's probably going to be some sort of line, which there's a lot of debate about the line situation because I waited 40 minutes. And if you are somebody who has to go to work, if you are somebody who can't get off in time to go and vote, that's a big issue because then that makes it harder for somebody who maybe doesn't have the resources to take off time for work, or they have to bring their kids, or any of those other situations. That's why it was such a big deal this year of mail-in ballots, because that gives people who maybe can't make it out to stand in a 45-minute line or an hour and a half line to vote. And that makes a huge difference, because then we're talking about our BIPOC populations, and my dogs are now having a fight.
What population did you say?
BIPOC.
I know what POC is, people of color, right?
So Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Okay.
Yep. It's like the LGBTQ plus, LGBTQIA, that sort of level of I guess whatever that is.
Acronyms?
Acronym. I don't know what I was gonna say. Not that.
What's that? There's probably, hold on, I'm gonna double check.
No,
Keep
it's
talking.
an acronym.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay. There's that one where it spells things out, and I just don't want to mix that up.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the same.
All right.
You look.
I will.
You also need to make sure you have whatever proper identification. I just have my driver's license, so I can use my driver's license. They check and make sure that's you, and then they make sure that you're registered to vote, which you should have already done already, as long as you're, 18 and older. So then they give you a ballot. They print out your name and they give you a little barcode and everything, and then they give you a ballot. And then you take that blank ballot, and it's just like a blank sheet of paper. It's really nothing special. But I held it like it was just like, I don't know, the host in a church service, just like two hands, and just like held it and went over to the open ballot box, or like it's a little like electronic computer stand thing, and then you insert your ballot. It has instructions, so if you just read it, there's also usually helpers and volunteers there to assist you if you do have any questions or something happens. So you insert your ballot, it gives you the instructions on how to fill it out. You can click on all of the names that you want, make sure you hit next, and then you can choose all the other names, and then review it and make sure that the names that you have chosen are correct. And then you can print. It'll usually make you check that you've printed correctly, and then it prints it out. And then you take that slip of paper with your name and all of these barcodes on it, and then you go lead it to another computer where you stick it in, and it looks like a giant trash can. You stick it in, it records, and it says, "Thank you for voting," and then somebody will give you a sticker, and then you're on your merry way.
And then you can Instagram that.
Then you can Instagram, which I did not do.
It's fine.
I know. I just forgot. Everyone else did it. I didn't want to also be like one of those people, but that's a different subject. But yeah. Yeah. So like time it took me to pick up my ballot and register my votes, and then actually like deposit my ballot into the ballot box. I think it was maybe like 8 minutes, and that's like, I'm terrible at time, so maybe 5 minutes, honestly, but it really wasn't that much time of like getting ballot and finishing and then getting my sticker.
How early was that when you went there?
It was during my lunch hour.
Oh, okay.
Usually too, you can, like, most of the major news offices or news sources have some sort of like local breakdown of the different candidates on the ballot. So like in Dallas, the Dallas Morning News has a section that you can actually go and look and see who is actually on the ballot for at least most of the area and then choose from there. So if you are looking for more information, it's usually just a Google search away or finding, your local newspaper.
I think that now that I understand better, I feel that the necessity to vote is much more higher than it was my last two times. I think that it's something that I'll be doing for the first time, and people are just like, oh, you're kind of old. You should have already done it. But I think that as a growing individual, that I understand a little bit better. I'll be voting this weekend, so I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, you had two opportunities for a president since you've been old enough. And I think the second time 4 years ago, I didn't imagine it to go the way that it would. And I don't think anybody really thought that Trump would be elected. It definitely still felt like a joke until it wasn't a joke. And then we were dealing with what we have. So, I mean, that may be the reality, that a lot of people felt like it wasn't a big deal. And then, there's a lot of voting shaming, which I think it also doesn't help people who do have some sort of anxiety, because it is a big decision. And if you are anxious about it, then you've got to get over that anxiety to get to the voting place. And then you've got to get over the anxiety of maybe being around people. And then, that's a lot of things to get over. And not a lot of people just have that in them to do without just a little extra support and a little extra help. And all of that like negative talk about, hey, you should have voted, like, how bad of American are you? While that may be on some level true, it's really not the like capital T true. Like, you're not a terrible person for not voting yet. Now, and that's it. I'd rather have you on board later than never have you on board at all.
And I guess I'll say this as like my perspective. I think that you not voting because you're scared or unsure, I think I understand that. And the only thing stopping you, which was stopping me, was just trying a little bit. Because, like, I didn't really try to look up every candidate. I also was, I think, in a very bad headspace at that time. If I'm thinking back 4 years ago in November, yeah, no, I wasn't doing too hot. So, like, that I understand that. But now that I'm in, like, it's not just like, oh, November's coming up, let me get into the news. I think that for me, having that, slowly but surely kind of easing into the news cycle, understanding, what's going on, and also for me, even though sometimes it's hard, I look at both, like, both partisanship news networks, because sometimes I'm like, let's see what I can find out and why it's true on both sides, because I don't want to just learn from what they say, because sometimes they're wrong. Both sides can be wrong at some point, and they go back and say, yeah, we made a miscalculation, and I think that's okay. But in order for you to not be shocked by them being wrong, is do your own research and kind of go more in depth and look at other sites, not just one, because if you do the same site every time, you're just going to be in that echo chamber, and it's going to reaffirm that belief. So break that cycle by looking around to other sites, because I see a lot of like apps or something like saying we're like the true neutral site, and I'm just like, well, let's see about that. Let's figure this out. So having that news kind of slowly grow into my life made me a better informed person for this year. So I think for next year, if you don't feel comfortable or you're not old enough to vote, find the news now. Don't let the people saying like you're a bad American because you didn't vote like kind of put you down under. Just inform yourself, and then understand what you believe in and what your candidate believes in. And maybe next year I might even vote into a third party if I just think so. I think that's a highly contested thing, voting third party. And I considered it this year, but I don't think that I informed myself about the candidate, so I'm not going to vote third party. But because I informed myself about these two candidates, I know which one of the two that I'm picking. So look at everything and do your own research, and slowly, gradually, for those who have anxiety, kind of like ease yourself into the news cycle as best as you can. But, keep yourself safe and your mind safe as well, because, I want you to be able, like me, later on to potentially join in and vote as well.
Yeah, it is important. It is a big one this year. I mean,
we say that about every year, and I think that
I
is
know
true.
we say that about every year. I think this one, there's a lot of evidence that says that, people are actually affected by the things that the president says and believes and supports. So please don't allow this next 4 years to be the same as the previous 4 years. From one American to another.
And if you're not from American and you're that one Ireland individual,
thank you.
Thank you. And I think there's also a handful of Canadians. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy watching our next 4 years and wherever we may go.
This dumpster fire. Also, if you are looking for a spouse, I am gladly ready to divorce mine and move up to Canada. So I think he would understand at this point. So thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at dndegreespod. You can find us online on the internet at dndegreespod.com. You can email us at dndegreespod@gmail.com. Have any questions, want to be on the podcast? What? We would love to have you on the podcast. Feel free to reach out to us. Please follow and subscribe to this podcast wherever you find your podcasts. Help us grow our listenership by just forwarding it on to a friend or a family member. Rate us 5 stars on wherever you can rate us. Only do that 5 stars because otherwise you'll have a well actually in your group forever, and that's absolutely no fun.
Well, thank you so much for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
And go have some fun and go vote.